Now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our graduate award winners, who will jointly give our valedictory address. As we have two winners of this award, we have asked each to give a brief reflection on their experience of the McLaren community. Consider the two speeches as two different lenses into a shared experience. Though new this year, both graduate award winners asked that they give a shared, integrated address. So please hold your applause until both have spoken and concluded the speech. And now, I would like to welcome Jake Frisbee and McKenna Shane.
Board of Directors, Founders, Mr. LeBeatty, Ms. Boyle, faculty, family, and friends, Jake and I are honored to speak to you today on behalf of the class of 2025, not independently, but together with one united speech.
Because when considering the most meaningful aspect of our McLaren experience, it was immediately clear that our unique community is what makes McLaren so special.
It was a chilly morning when I awoke at the ungodly hour of 6 a.m. If thoughts could kill, my alarm would have perished right then and there. I made a long and perilous journey across town and up a large hill to my lovely bridge partner's house. It was the first day of senior project week. Upon arrival, I was greeted with a face as exhausted as mine. Hi. Hey. I don't really want to be awake right now. Yeah, me either. Great, let's get to work. Neither of us had woken up this early all break, and we were feeling it. After stumbling over to a big table where our bridges were born, we set up our workspace and promptly departed from it to search for cats. This is not my typical attitude towards project week. Each one before this began immediately on the very first days of winter break with enthusiasm and due love and care. My sophomore graph theory research received so much attention that all other responsibilities were temporarily forgotten, leading to a forced pause on my discoveries. Every year, I carefully crafted a schedule to maximize the fun by spreading out working hours as much as possible. Because I was working with a partner, I had to wait for project week this time, and my motivation faltered. Being forced to take a break for the first time, I realized how nice it was, and I was hesitant to give it up. I became very aware of how precious my time was. It was certainly not for a lack of excitement about the project itself that we found ourselves reluctant to begin. We had been planning our partnership for years. Roller coasters, folding chairs, and any bridge in sight were carefully noted and discovered in preparation for building our own bridges. We even constructed a bridge out of gingerbread for the clan bake-off as incentive for us to be partnered together. Working together was one of the only things we were still completely excited for at the beginning. The rest felt more like a chore. Our sleepy states did little to help this sentiment. We eventually began our research and quickly found ourselves waking up, not just our bodies, but our minds too. As we read more and more about the different types of trusses and their benefits, excitement to build our own bridges grew. We immediately decided to use a Warren truss, agreeing that it would maximize mass efficiency. Our curiosity was quickly rekindled, and we tested several bridge ideas on bridge building software. Some designs collapsed under their own weight before the little digital car could drive over the bridge. Other times, the car would get part of the way through when the bridge caved in. We felt very bad for the hypothetical drivers in those iterations. We even arrived at a design that distributes tension and compression so well that they are barely detectable at all. Much to our dismay, this bridge would have required so much of our resources that we would barely have had enough for our second bridge. Actually, this bridge is under construction now, and we're excited to see how it does. Finally, we developed the design for our first bridge, and we shared a moment of immense pride. Our initial reservations had long since vanished and were replaced with nothing but eagerness to keep learning more. We had been able to help each other snap out of our reluctance and rediscover our excitement. The following morning surely received their fair share of groans, but the excitement to start working outweighed our tiredness more and more each day. That week was full of fun, and with each other's help, we created something we were truly proud of. This project was so much more than another opportunity to hang out with my dear friend. We learned a great deal, and our friendship was strengthened forever. I couldn't have done it without the help of my partner. We encouraged each other when we needed it most. As soon as we began diving into our studies, our desire to learn was awakened and took off. This experience showed me the importance of letting your community support you. I had been so used to working by myself and handling assignments alone that I didn't realize how much I needed a helping hand until one was extended to me. I was reminded that we have this amazing community right here at McLaren, full of friendship and compassion that is more than happy to lift us up when we are down.
For me, 11th grade Humane Letters was a time of deep inquiry, one in which I was challenged to question and defend my own ideas and forced to step outside of my comfort zone to explore other points of view. Authors like Plato and Aristotle inspired me through their high views of virtue, such as the difference between moral strength and self-control. Others I disagreed with strongly, like the Athenian delegation Aemilia and Thucydides, who claimed that might makes right. Yet, they forced me to carefully evaluate my beliefs and even realize how their ideas related to mine. I remember one moment after a particular revelation, I exclaimed to Mr. Kelly, our teacher, if only the entire world had a McLaren education, how much better off would we be? But I'd be lying if I said we were all that enthusiastic all the time. I recall a specific day last year, reading Plato's Republic. We were discussing the idea of free will and how much of it we possess. While most of us were enthusiastically partaking in the discussion, there was one student who was sitting back, unconvinced. Mr. Kelly saw this and roped him into the discussion, much to his displeasure. At first, he disinterestedly dismissed the text assertion, believing that it was obvious why the clothes he chose to wear, the music he chose to listen to, and so on, were all expressions of his own choice and free will. In response, Mr. Kelly suggested that maybe he only wore those clothes or listened to that music because they were in style, or rather, because others around him chose those things. Now the student was partaking in the conversation much more enthusiastically, trying his best to refute Mr. Kelly and the text claims and protect his own position. But slowly, when he found that he didn't have answers to Mr. Kelly's counter-arguments, we saw him come to a realization that he wasn't sure what he thought. Did he actually understand free will? It was a very memorable moment watching our classmate arrive at that revelation that none of us had ever really considered before. I mean, where else would a group of teenage boys have a discussion about free will? Yet how important is it for us to have an understanding of whether our actions and ideas are results of our own deliberation, or whether they are instilled on us by forces which may not have our best interests in mind? I believe this memory does a great job of capturing this idea of shared revelation. I have had plenty of aha moments myself, but something I've noticed is that whenever I realize something on my own, I can't help wanting to tell and share that realization with someone else. There's something special about sharing a moment of learning with others, something affirming and fulfilling to grow in understanding together. And that's what made this moment so powerful. Coming to a realization amidst a chorus of, oh, and I see, just all the more to bring home the significance and universal quality of that realization. Sadly, this classmate left McLaren later that year, but upon recently seeing him again, I recall him telling us that it was so hard to have that kind of conversation with anyone at his new school. And while we all laughed at that, I think that observation highlights just how special the community we have here at McLaren is, and the part that these shared revelations have played in it. I'm struck even more by reflecting on the variety of people in that seminar room. We all have such different interests, values, and goals, but we could still have that experience together. The ideals that McLaren strives for, knowing truth, creating beauty, and practicing goodness, are ideals that all students should strive for. And the McLaren creates a community where that is possible no matter how different we are. The possibility of shared revelation is a part of what makes McLaren culture so special. Inspired by our friends and peers, we are encouraged to go outside of our preconceptions and comfort zones to pursue truth, all to grow in our understanding of our humanity.
Aristotle speaks to how indispensable community is. He states that happiness is the highest good, and only with friendship can one be completely happy. His idea of perfect friendship is when friends selflessly desire goodness for one another. This was evident during project week because both my partner and I wanted to do our best for the good of the project, but also for each other. Together, we pushed through, pulled each other up, and created something beautiful. In Jake's HL class 2, they encouraged one another to grow in their understanding of free will, a topic that is important to the bigger picture of a good and happy life, finding excitement in seeing one another come to that shared revelation. That camaraderie and support can be found all throughout our McLaren community, in Big Brother, Big Sister, sports, clans, and most of all, in the classroom. We have celebrated one another's accomplishments, learned from one another's mistakes, encouraged one another in pursuing the good, true, and beautiful. From our 6th grade plays to our full-scale drama productions, from our mousetrap cars to our balsa wood bridges, from our first graphite self-portrait to our last one in acrylic paint, we have all grown immensely and we have done it all together. I think Aristotle would recognize something of true friendship in all this.
And so much of what we have done could physically not have been done alone. I mean, it takes an orchestra to play a symphony, it takes a group of learners to conduct a seminar, and yes, it takes all of us to give Dr. Holliday a headache. As a class, we have been encouraged to find a joy and love of learning for its own sake. And when we think back to all the joyful moments of learning we've had over the years here, you, classmates, are all at the root of it. Every shared revelation and motivation to work hard stemmed from this community we have here at McLaren.
Even outside the classroom, this sense of community is evident. During HL breaks, whether we were continuing a captivating discussion or sitting silently in mutual exhaustion, we were all comforted knowing that we had a class full of people going through the same experiences. We are so grateful to have had such an amazing class.
And so, as we get ready to officially graduate, in the words of Alexei Karamazov, let us remember how good it once was here, when we were all together, united by a good and kind feeling. Ilyusha united the boys during his lifetime, and after his death, the boys' bond grew stronger still. They looked to the future with hope, that moment serving as a guide all their lives. In the same way, we were brought together over the last 7 years through McLaren. As this chapter of our lives is ending, let us remain connected in our shared experiences, all the times we found motivation through hard work and came to revelations together. And let us look to our futures with hope in the guidance we have received here, never forgetting the community that united us.
Thank you.
At this time, while they are here, I would like to present the highest award given to a student at Thomas McLaren School. Unlike the way some schools select valedictorians, not only do we look for students who have reached the highest level of academic achievement, but we also want to uphold students who clearly model the pursuit of goodness, truth, and beauty, and who are actively invested as lifelong learners. Jake is deeply curious and excellent in his questioning. In HL, he regularly drives the conversation with his perceptive questioning, and he has an excellent understanding of philosophy and literature. But he also has intellectual humility and delights even when he is wrong, because his whole goal is simply learning more and doing so in community, which I hope you heard in this speech. He has a command of the material of physics and mathematics. He's a great performer on stage. And as one teacher put it, Jake's community is the entire school community. He wants to know and be friendly to all students from 6th to 12th grade. Multiple teachers used one word to characterize McKenna as a learner: joy. She is excellent all around doing letters, reading perceptively, engaging in conversation substantively, and she is creative and ambitious in her writing. In physics and math, she takes risks with her questions, and her excitement and engagement create a dynamic classroom environment for her peers. In Greek, she picked the hardest things to translate and read just because she loved it. She has a drive and curiosity that unites all her classes, and most importantly, she loves learning for its own sake. She will pursue further learning because it delights her so much, and she can often be found after class, asking her teachers more questions and for more material just to keep learning. Please join me in honoring the recipients of the 2025 Graduate Award, Jake Frisbee and McKenna